Hi everybody, welcome to another segment of an unscripted moment. I want to talk briefly tonight about something that's kind of been on my mind, and it has to do with prepping, I guess, survival, community, building relationships. I want to start with a very short story. When I was a kid, my brothers and sister and I got all our bikes from a bike shop in town. Local bike shop. It was like, this guy started it with his wife years and years ago, and he was older, and ever since I can remember, it was his son, who's probably, 15 years older than me, and he ran it, and his mom was still, doing the books or whatever. His dad had passed away, probably when I was a real little kid. Before I never remember the father being there, but anyway, so we all got our bikes there. From the first Christmas I woke up and there was a little tiny bike with training wheels under the tree, came from there, and so did all my brothers and my sister. And through the years, as we graduated up to bigger bikes, they all came from there. And when I purchased my own bike when I was 15 with my paper route money to do my paper routes with, I had two paper routes. I had one in the morning, one in the afternoon. It came from there as well. And so they were good people. We had a relationship with them. We walked in there, we knew them by name. They knew us by name. And they lived in this community, lived and worked in this community their whole lives. And for a couple generations, as I said. One time, when I had the 10-speed, with the curved handlebars and whatnot, they were pretty big back then, 70s. I got a flat tire. I used to camp a lot. My cousin lived in the next town over, like 10 miles over, and I used to bike up there quite a bit. And I got a flat tire, not on the way to there, but just doing my paper or whatever. And my mom, I took the rim off and I put it in the car, and my mom brought me down there, and I was gonna, see if they could fix it or match it, the tube I needed or whatever. And so the owner said, yeah, bring it in. And we're talking. I told him how I go camping a lot in the next town over and everything. And he said, you really should have a spare rim. I mean not a spare rim. I'm sorry, a spare tube in case it fails on the way sometime. You get a flat tire. So I had the pump already. So he set me up with a tube, and so he brought me in back and he showed me how to change it. Right? He had a special, I think they call it a tire spoon. It's almost, like a rod with a flat angled head on the end, and you work the tire off the rim. And so he sold me one of those. He sold me the tube that I needed for the replacement and a spare tube, right? So I went in there for a tube. I came out with two tubes and this tool. So that's good business, right? He sold me that stuff and taught me, took the 10 minutes, 15 minutes and taught me how to do the tire, right? And so that was like a service. It was a service to me to learn that and to be able to do that and have that knowledge. And yet for him, like I said, he sold those extra components. It was good business for him, and everybody was happy. It was a good relationship. And so Walmart came to town, and I don't know, maybe 5 years after, they closed. They put them out of business, right? Because in Walmart, you could buy the newest, 15-speed mountain bike at the time or whatever for $79 or whatever. I don't even remember, but they were super cheap. And so he struggled for a while. He sold fitness equipment too, so he was able to sustain his business for a few years, but he ended up closing. And I ended up working with his son many years later. He's a couple years younger than me, and we talk about it quite a bit. And he always said, they believed it was Walmart that put him out of business because it was disposable. You didn't work on the bikes for what you paid for them. You used it for a year, whatever, something happened, you tossed it out and you got another one. And I think our whole society is kind of going in that direction. But so that's what it is. And if I look at, the shoe store where we used to buy shoes, and my mom used to take us to buy clothes for school when we were kids, and to buy our stationery supplies, and all these little stores like downtown, they all started closing after Walmart came to town. And I don't think it's a money issue, although with the bikes I think it was. But with a lot of that smaller stuff, I don't think it was. I think it was convenience, right? Like, rather than putting, 5 kids in a car and driving around to all these different places and spending, 4 hours, half your day, going here, going there, trying to park, along Main Street, whatever. You just go to Walmart. Everything's under one roof, right? You get what you need. I guess it's cheaper, but I could be wrong, but I think that the driving force was convenience. You see the same thing in food, right? Like, why is McDonald's booming with business and thriving? And because they got drive-thrus. There's a little burger joint downtown. My parents used to go there when they were in high school, and it was like kind of like Arnold's, on the old show Happy Days, right? You go in, you sit at the counter, whatever. You can order. I believe they're still open. They've got a following and they do pretty decent business. So I think they're kind of immune from that. But I think their business suffered. They're not as busy as they used to be. But yet you go by McDonald's, there's a line around the corner out the drive-thru. It's convenience. People don't want to get out of their car. They want to order their food and go. It's the same thing like if you buy eggs, right? You go to the grocery store, you can buy eggs. There's a farm up the road that sells them. So, do I buy eggs at the grocery store and without knowing like how fresh they are? What kind of hormones the chickens were fed? Well, who knows what's in them, right? Do we do that to save 42 cents a dozen? No, I don't think so. No, we do it because it's convenient. Because we're already there buying everything else. Might as well just pick up the eggs too, rather than drive another 6 miles up the road to the farm. But so that brings me to the point of community, right? Growing community, growing relationships, and this is something I need to start doing too. And we had a crop share, a CSA. We belonged to a CSA, my wife and I, a couple of years ago. And you pay up front and you go every week for 20 weeks and they give you a box of food or whatever. And it was good, right? But we didn't do it last year because we have certain things that we don't really care for. And like, they would give you what they gave you and it was all good quality stuff, but maybe they had something that we didn't really care for in there. Like, so we still go there to that farm stand. Probably still spend about the same amount of money as we did on the crop share the year we did the crop share, but now we can tailor make that box to what we want it to be. We can pick and choose what we want, buy what we want, and we're not obligated. Like if we go on vacation for a week, we don't miss out or have to figure that all out. Like certain things you could substitute in the crop share, but like they don't grow any fruits on site, they just grow veggies. And so the box contains some fruit every week, but they share with another farm, and so the veggies come in from that farm. So the veggies are still, good. It's, no pesticide. It's all good stuff, right? We know the farm where most of it comes from, like the apples, and we buy apples there too, and like it is really good stuff. But you can't substitute. Like, so if they had, say, pears and you didn't want pears one week, well, you could substitute to a certain degree the stuff that came from the farm, but you couldn't substitute any of the stuff they brought in from the other farm. So all that just to say that we didn't do the crop share the second year just because of the flexibility. We want to have a little more flexibility in what we purchase. So again, I think it's good to do that, to buy from those farm stands and to buy eggs, from the guy that sells the eggs on it. He has the chickens and sells the eggs. Is it convenient? No, it's not convenient. But you're getting better food, and if you do it right, you could be building relationships too, right? Like, I love watching Deep South Homestead. I like Danny's got such a humble, gentle spirit, right? I'm sure anybody watching me probably already saw him. He's like a superstar on YouTube. But he did a video the other day, porch time video. He was a little off, like almost like angry, not really angry, but like passionate, I'll say, and all the points he made kind of hit home, and here's the thing I really like about Danny and about Deep South Homestead. This guy's got a lot of knowledge and he's not afraid to share it, and like I said, he's very humble, very gentle spirit. And so, like he said, they're true homesteaders, and I believe they are. Him and his wife, they're true homesteaders. And so my wife and I are going to be starting a homestead. We've already started doing remodeling on the house and whatnot. We're going to be moving down there in a couple of years. It's quite a distance away. It's in Virginia. And, I show up there at age 55. I'm 53 now. I'm going to be 54. It'll be at least another year before we go down there. So say 55. And start homesteading. I could live till I'm 120 and be on that homestead and not be half the homesteader that Danny is. And so he talks about cycles of, like what happens if the truck stops delivering the feed to the feed store, right? How do you feed your animals? So in order to be a true homesteader and to be self-sufficient, you have to be able to grow everything that your animals eat, and then your animals feed you, and so that cycle continues. I think he said, I might be getting this confused with another video. I think he said that to feed one person, the amount of animals you need and food you need, and the area to grow the food to feed the animals that feed you, you need a minimum of 10 acres per person. So my wife and I, it would be 20 acres. My math skills are really kicking in there. But so that wasn't really feasible for us because we didn't want to end up with a huge amount of debt. We tried to get in, relatively inexpensive. We found a pretty good deal, but if we wanted to get 20 acres and then do the house and all this other stuff, or buy one that already had a nice house, we would have been buried in debt. And we're not going to have really any big pension to speak of or anything, so that was a concern for us. So for us, that really wasn't an option. At this point, really don't foresee myself doing a lot of animals. We want to do rabbits and mainly gardening and whatever. So yeah, we'll still have to buy meat from another farm or, wherever, right? And so will we be his definition of true homesteaders? Maybe, maybe not, And that's okay, because it looks different for everybody, I think, and, what the homestead is and what homesteading is can look different for different people. And what he says about, being a true homesteader and being able to sustain your animals and all, I think he's got a good point. I don't disagree with him, but I don't think I'm going to fit into that. We could strive for, I'd like to strive for, just to never have to buy fruits or vegetables again. I'd be happy with that if I could just sustain ourselves in those categories. And I don't even know if that's possible, right? But anyway, so he talked about a farm stand that he stopped at, and they had these really awesome looking tomatoes, and they were really cheap. And he made a comment to the guy like, "Wow, you must sell out really quickly." And the guy's response was, "Well, no, we don't, because people just drive right by and they go to the big box store." And so if he's recognizing, and I gotta believe he's got his finger on the pulse of the fruit and vegetable economy, he's recognizing that that was quality stuff and that it was inexpensive. Why aren't they stopping? Why are they going to the big box supermarket or whatever? I don't think it's for price. Again, it's for convenience, because they're going to get coffee and paper plates and, you name it, right? Everything else that they need. 5 carriages worth of stuff. And so they'll just pick up their tomatoes there too. And they probably won't be as good, and they may not even be as cheap. But it's the convenience of not making that extra stop. I think that's what drives people to that. And so that's where I think where Walmart excels, and the big box stores, like the same thing's true of like Home Depot and Lowe's, right? They put a lot of these little lumber yards out of business and these little hardware stores, centers, But shame on us, we need to start, I'm not saying you need to start, but I'm not going to give advice to anybody else, but I need to start, to start patronizing these places. And in the same respect, we could build relationships, right? I stop at the fruit stand every week and talk to these people, and they get to know me, and I get to know them. Maybe somewhere down the road, there's some kind of economic collapse or food chain break, and the stores aren't getting food, and there's refugees killing each other for half a gallon of milk in the streets. I mean, that's pretty extreme, but could we get there? Yeah, I mean, if or even like a depression situation and a financial collapse. If it gets to the point where people don't have the money to buy stuff, or for some reason, like I say, the supply chain dries up, maybe they'll allow people to pick potatoes, dig potatoes, or, during a harvest, you could say, well, we'll hire, 5 people for the week to dig potatoes, and for that, we'll give you a bag of produce at the end of the week. And so if he's got 300 people raising their hand, me, pick me, maybe if you have a relationship with that guy, maybe you'll have a better chance of being one of those people. Or even better, maybe you'll have built a relationship with him to where you can get that job before he even goes looking for those day laborers. Where, you can show up and work for him and get paid in vegetables. When the time comes, right? If we're in that kind of situation, what else are you going to do? So these are people that have skills, they have resources, and maybe they will need help. And so maybe if we build our relationships with these people, if we become friends with them, when time comes, when times are tough, and they look out over that crowd of people vying for those 3 or 5 positions that they have for day laborers, maybe the fact that you showed up there every single week during good times and spent some of your hard-earned money there when you could have just kept going and went to the big box store. But you didn't. You stopped and you spent your money there and you helped support these people. Maybe they'll remember that. Maybe that'll come back, It's really not just an investment in the produce, and it's an investment in people. It's an investment in relationships. It's an investment in ourselves in that respect, right? So, anyway, something to think about. I was a little, I don't want to say like off kilter, but when I saw that video that Danny made, he's a little out of sorts, and he's normally not like that. It was a little troubling. I think, like I said, I think he's a great guy. I think he's got such a gentle, kind spirit. He's humble, and he's got a lot of knowledge. I love watching his porch times because he'll tell you what he knows, and it's valuable. That information's valuable, and so maybe just by watching him, I can glean some information. And so when he's struggling, he got to a point where he was saying, this world's messed up, and that's out of sorts for him, right? Like, he's not usually like that. But on the other hand, he's absolutely right. He's absolutely right in everything he says. This world is messed up. And where are we going with the next generation? And, there's so much trouble. There's so much trouble potentially coming down the pike. And I don't want to be a doom and gloomer, right? But anyway, I can go in 10 different directions. I think this is a good place to stop. Just to say, build those relationships. Build those relationships. That's what I'm going to try to do. Relationship with the guy that sells the vegetables, with the people that sell the eggs. And, so what? Let's step out of our convenience zone a little. If you got to make an extra stop or go a few miles out of the way, the upside is you're getting better quality stuff. Look at the eggs. Like I said, who knows how old those eggs are in a supermarket, or what kind of hormones they gave the chickens, or whatever, what they even fed them, or how they raised them, right, or what kind of stress they were under, or so many things. I think if you compare the eggs, no one's going to really argue that the fresh eggs are better. My wife, she'll try to get the fresh farm eggs whenever she can, but sometimes life happens and you're going in 10 different directions and you're busy. You're at the supermarket, you buy them. But you know what? Again, it's not to save the 42 cents a dozen. It's not for the money. You don't buy the inferior eggs at the supermarket for the money. You buy it for the convenience. So let's work around that. Let's be inconvenienced. Let's go out of our way. Let's get to know these people. Let's support these people. They're making their living off the land. That's what built America, in my opinion. people that woke up every day and worked on the land. You know, these people are struggling. Times are good, we're working, we have the money. So spend a little extra money in gas or a little extra time. Go to these places, support these people. That's my point. Whatever, take it for what it's worth. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. God bless you.